I'm going to try to explain preparation today. Patients ask me all the time, how much are you going to prepare my tooth? And the answer is not that simple. Okay, what dictates preparation? And it's two simple things.
Is not that simple.
The initial position of where your tooth is, the desired position of where the cosmetic dentist wants that tooth to be with a veneer on it. That's one parameter. Initial shade, initial color of your tooth, and the desired shade that you and your dentist want that to be. Now, those two parameters are what you are making room for to create a piece of porcelain. That's the only reason you prepare a tooth. If your tooth is in and it's light and you want it a little further out and it's also a little lighter, there's almost no preparation or no preparation. But that is very rarely the case, right? And that's why people ask all the time, do you do no prep veneers? The answer is yes. I'm always trying to save enamel. We are always trying to save enamel. It's just there are parameters that you don't want to violate because you don't want to do something that's going to make the health of your teeth worse because you told the patient that you're not drilling the tooth. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's just go through these very simple slides. Okay, first of all, the minimum thickness for a veneer is 0.2 to 0.3 millimeters of thickness. And that is the thickness needed for one hue color change. So if you're going from, now this is a shade scale that only dentists know, but if you're going from a relatively light tooth to a relatively lighter tooth, that's 0.3 millimeters. That's one hue change. If you're going from a dark gray tooth and you want a white tooth, you need much more room. Now, it doesn't mean you need much more preparation because we're still worried about, or we're still thinking of where the initial position is and where the desired position is. So if the initial position is back and you want the tooth more forward, like a lot of times we widen a smile, we're bringing those premolars and canines out to show more teeth when you smile. Now, that's going to obviously add or require room, which probably is enough room to cover the color of the underlying tooth that you started with, and it'll be plenty what you end with. So 0.2 to 0.3 thickness needed for a porcelain veneer, and 0.3 for one hue color change. Okay, so if you look at, and this is a great slide, how much depth you're cutting in. Now, first of all, the little dotted lines here are preparation, which is not much. When we talk about a crown preparation, we're talking about, that's when people say like, are you gonna cut my teeth down to a little peg? This is literally like a fingernail off of the front of the tooth. And so depending upon, so here's a minimal preparation because we don't need much color change. Here is taking a little more because we need more room for the color change. And here's taking even a little more because we need even more room for a color change. Now, that's also all thinking that this is the desired position. So it means, what I'm saying by that is the tooth in the position that it's in this diagram is your final tooth. So now you're just depth cutting for color. So minimal prep green, average prep yellow, deeper prep red, if that's the same position. Now, what if your tooth is in and you want it to be further out? Now you see the green is all additive, and really the only preparation is from the inside of the tooth. If we are in the minimal prep stage and we're dealing with the green on this slide, we then have to think about material. And so First, we're talking about preparation. How much tooth is really needed to prepare? And the answer is not much. You shouldn't be worried about the preparation of the tooth if it's done properly. The second question is people talk about Emax or feldspathic or layered ceramic. They're two different types of ceramic. Emax, which is cut from one solid block, is probably the most widely used, and by me, probably the most not loved. Because if you look at, this would be the same minimal preparation case, the white is now the veneer. And so to put one color of porcelain over a tooth that has so many different colors, and the only thing that you can do to truly monolithic Emax is pick the color of ingot that you're cutting it from. So if you want really white teeth, there are different translucencies of white, there are different densities of white, but you're choosing one block, okay? And you're putting that over the tooth. Now, if you have dark teeth, it's not gonna block out the dark tooth very well, and you're gonna get that gray, shadowy cast that some people say, like, why do my veneers look gray? Maybe because of the material. Now, maybe because your tooth underneath is so gray that it's impossible to block out, but maybe because it's the material. So if that is monolithic, the material that we use most frequently is called layered ceramic. And layered ceramic in that same picture has all of these different powder and liquid ceramic slurries layered onto the tooth. And if you look, there's tiny micro, we're talking like 0.1, 0.05 layers of different layers of ceramic to build depth of color into the final veneer so that it mimics a real tooth. A layered ceramic has much more possibilities of creating a natural effect to the ceramic to make it look as real as possible. I do both. It just depends on what, I know the limitations of Emax. I also know the true benefits of Emax. I'm not using one, I'm not using a hammer to fix everything when sometimes I need a screwdriver. If you don't think Emax is gray, you just haven't done enough. And if you don't think feldspathic is more natural, then you're not using it. Now, there are limitations to feldspathic. If people are breaking teeth, I have to put Emax on key teeth so that they don't break them. There's a definite strength factor. But, we're getting into something like, this is not for patients to know, or it should be the person that has to live and die by these decisions that they're making for someone. And so I don't want to make this video and then people be like, well, Appa said that feldspathic is more aesthetic, so don't use Emax. Because that's not what I'm saying. Layered ceramic is just definitely more aesthetic. I can see layered ceramic versus Emax almost every time. But there is a need for that stronger material in certain cases, and I do use it, have used it, and continue to use it. You just have to know when and how to use it and in what situations to get the best results. And that should be determined by your dental professional.